A very good evening to you and welcome to your primetime news. I'm Nicola D'Souza and here are your headlines.
Questions raised on the continuity of the bus strike. Minister of Higher Education proposes action to be taken against those involved in ragging. 20,000 acres of land at the brink of destruction due to a planning flaw in the Daduru-Oyo Southern Canal. Reports reveal that 21 Sri Lankan workers have died in Qatar in the past year. Former Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee passes away. 2 athletes lose the opportunity to participate at Asian Games due to the negligence of officials.
The All Ceylon Private Bus Employees Association announced a single-day all-island.
The Private Bus Owners Association did not support this strike. Our reports state that as a result, transportation in most areas of the island continued without disruption. All routes beginning from the Fort Bus Depot continued as per schedules. However, a shortage of buses was seen in certain areas early this morning. Buses to Borella, Battaramulla, Maharagama, Piliyandala and Nugegoda continued as usual. Standard and luxury buses travelling the route between Galle and Colombo were not in operation today. Our reports state that alternate buses travelling the same route were operating as usual. While Kandy saw the usual number of buses over the course of the day, there was a shortage in buses in the morning. Buses from Kurunegala to Anuradhapura and Kandy were not in operation. Other buses operating from Kurunegala were in operation as usual. While buses in Matara continued as per usual, highway buses in Matara were also in operation. Gampaha had also seen buses in operation as per usual.
We have received the support of the 3 Villa Unions Association and the unions at the Port Authority. 80% of the employees are already behind us in this fight against these fines.
We don't see a shortage in buses. We see a drop in people because they are pulled towards the train and the CTB stops instead. We would like to tell the people that there are plenty of buses. The group that tried to strike has had to pull back their plans. We would like to state that the strike has been a complete failure. We are only able to see the buses running like this because of the efforts of the owners and the employees. No ministers supported us. They didn't even speak to us and ask how we can solve this situation.
If there is a shortage, we are ready to use army buses. This even applies if certain areas don't have enough. We see some clashes have also taken place. This includes the storing of private and public buses that are running today. I have asked the Inspector General of Police to take steps to punish these individuals.
Daddy say, me වැරදි කරන අයට විරුද්ධව නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න කියලා
සර්පයා වුණත් පෙනේ පුප්පන්න නැතුව ඉන්නකොට දරමිටි බඳින්න ගන්නවා කියලා කියමනක් තියෙනවා. තවත් කියමනක් තියෙනවා නිවට කරනවා යමියා දැක්කහම එළුවත් රවුල නිකට පානවා කියලා.
When we are too humane, it is also a problem. Now in the past 10 days, they committed a grave mistake. They brought in 1 million of the working class to Colombo and then abandoned them. Now the private bus drivers demand that the law not be followed. Fines are to reduce mistakes, not to collect money from the people. The people know how private buses run.
Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, known for hits like Respect and Think, has died in Detroit at the age of 76.
The legendary singer was diagnosed with cancer in 2010 and announced last year she was retiring from music. Franklin had more than 20 US number ones over a career spanning 7 decades. She gave her final performance last November at a gala in New York held in aid of the Elton John AIDS Foundation. In a statement, her family said, quote, "In one of the darkest moments of our lives, we are not able to find the appropriate words to express the pain in our heart," unquote. The family also confirmed her death was due to advanced pancreatic cancer of the neuroendocrine type.
The SLFP had convened a media briefing in Colombo today. Views were expressed regarding the Singapore-Sri Lanka FTA at the media briefing.
The President has appointed a special committee to get a report within 2 months regarding this. As you know, this was forwarded to the Attorney General. It was approved by the Cabinet and after the Singapore Prime Minister visited Sri Lanka, he signed the agreement. We still have 1 year to make amendments to that. So the recommendations that will be made by the President will be forwarded by this committee to the Cabinet as a report. It might be presented to Parliament.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට පවා ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න ඉඩ කඩ තියෙනවා.
We asked that from Minister Malik Samarawikrama today in the morning. He said that it is under effect because it is legitimately signed. It has been signed without the approval of cabinet. It's under effect now. It's possible to amend this within a year. That's what I'm saying. I asked Minister Malik Samarawikrama today. I asked if they plan to present it to Parliament. He said there is no such law. No, it isn't a game he has played. It happened with cabinet approval. We are wondering about what's going to happen to the businesses. Ranil and Malik went ahead and signed an agreement with Singapore. This agreement got nothing to do with the properties of Ranil Wickramasinghe and Malik Samarawikrama. They signed an agreement on services and professions of our country. Before this was signed, was it presented to Parliament? Was there a discussion about this in Parliament? Were discussions held with the relevant trade representatives? Ranil and Malik betrayed the country, considering this their own property. Now there are discussions with the President. What is there to discuss now? Cabinet has approved this, but this was not presented before Parliament. There is a question, and that is if an agreement of this nature could be signed without presenting it to Parliament. That is where the problem is.
Here's another revelation about the Singapore-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement.
The matter pertaining to municipal waste, sewage sludge, clinical waste and nuclear waste being brought into the country without import duties through the Singapore-Sri Lanka FTA was even discussed in Parliament. Speaking on the matter, Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade Malik Samarawikrama said laws pertaining to importation will apply on whatever is being brought into the country. Though the minister says this, there are reports of hazardous materials being brought into the country in the past. On the 23rd of July in the year 19 used to import the goods. When inspected further, it revealed that the containers actually contain 130 tons of highly toxic pesticide. The motive of the company that was involved in the importation was to destroy this highly toxic pesticide in Sri Lanka. As a result of the strong decisions of the then President Ranasinghe Premadasa and the pressure exerted by the media as well as the environmentalists, the containers were sent back on the 16th of June 1990. The FTAs do not become relevant until they become the law of the country. If it is decided to enact the international laws that are there when importing goods, they will have to go in for strong international mediation. What the minister says and the practical situation is completely contradictory.
Convening a media briefing in Colombo today, convener of the Left Centre expressed the following views.
Aberame is called Mahinda Rajapaksa's Golden Temple or the Ramdeola. We saw how the so-called representatives of trade unions and how they fight among themselves. Mahinda Rajapaksa was watching them while laughing. Mahinda Kahadagamage was shouting from one side saying the one who sent me to jail was there. They are the ones who carried out Mahinda Rajapaksa's contracts. They are the ones who assaulted people. Mahinda Kahadagamage is called the pavement organizer. When the Chief Justice was removed in an illegal manner and when the lawyers and civil activists took to the streets against the removal, they were the ones who assaulted the protesters and chased them away. Mahinda Kahadagama was one of those who used profanity to chase them. Can we expect a democratic behavior from them? So that was the government led by Mahinda Rajapaksa. He laughed with them and engaged in activities like this. Back then, when Mahinda Rajapaksa governed, he scolds and shouts using profanity. But he didn't say anything yesterday. But the reprimanding was hidden. Now they have all come out. People know how Mahinda Rajapaksa lifted his sarong and reprimanded when the trade union representatives spoke of their issues. Some say certain heads of trade unions were compelled to leave the country. We saw how certain fit and healthy ministers were admitted to hospital and they later died. That is how Mahinda Rajapaksa governed the country.
ඉස්පිරිතාලෙන් එළියට ගියේ මේ මරණයටපත් වෙලා. එහෙම තමයි අන්න මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයාගේ කාලේ රට පාලනය.
Minister of Higher Education Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa has requested university students to exercise their right to personal safety if anyone attempts to cause any harm to them.
The new IT faculty of the University of Ruhuna was vested with the students by the minister today.
We will enforce the law, but to stop this ragging, the students who will be newly enrolled should use their rights. It is okay if there are seniors in the university, but the newly enrolled students also have the same right. So I ask the new students to come prepared. If someone tries to harass you or someone in your faculty, you should use your personal right to safety. It is okay even if you slap a senior. We will protect you, so don't be afraid. You act accordingly and let us know. Go to the nearest police station, at least inform someone from the administration board, inform the vice chancellors. We have an office that goes on for 24 hours. We have given you the number, let us know and we will take the necessary action.
Meanwhile, a group of students from the Ruhuni University staged a demonstration opposite the newly constructed IT faculty during the event. Later, a tense situation arose between the protesters and the police when they attempted to enter the IT faculty forcefully.
Listen, the faculty was declared open when the students were on vacation. Did you not know that? Did you come here to fight? We didn't come here to create an issue. So do not create a problem here. Vijay Dasa and the West are thieves. Go and assault him and run it. We do not get the Mahapala fund after they robbed it. Take pictures. Tell this to them. Tell Mangala and Sagala. They robbed the central bank and we don't even get the Mahapala fund anymore. The students were sent on holiday for more than 16 days before they declared open the faculty. The students took to the streets against Vijay Dasa Rajapaksha for using the university to hold political circuses. We tell them that they are not here to hold political circuses in universities. As the Minister of Higher Education, you should be getting involved in the issues faced by the students.
The youth parliamentarians of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna convened a media briefing today.
They are paying 200,000 rupees extra to the parliamentarians of the government, even though they say it is not given to UNP MPs. We have received this information through our sources. This is not something that began recently. This has been happening for some time. Are you speaking about the previous government? They had provided a vehicle to the coordinating committee chairman for the program carried out by the Economic Development Ministry. I do not know about it. Well, what can you learn from this? From what was just being said, one thing in particular is very, very clear. These individuals are the worst. We'll let you fill in the blanks in that area. But one thing is very, very clear. They are lying to the people. They are lying like it's a competition. And on behalf of the people,
incompetence of sports authorities would likely cost Sri Lanka a medal at the 2018 Asian Games in Jakarta, Indonesia.
this is because the Sri Lankan team, which was included into the 4x400 mixed relay for the very first time in the Asian Games, has been dropped from the event. In addition, flaws on the part of the sports authorities had also resulted in the failure to legally include Sri Lankan high jumper Ushan Tiwanka for his respective event. Ushan Tiwanka is incidentally the national high jump champion, and at the national selections he recorded a personal best of 2.24 meters, which is also above qualification requirement to compete in the Asian Games. However, it is now reported that organizers had refused to allow him to take part in the Games. Just as authorities failed to register Tiwanka for the event, they had also failed to register the 4x400 mixed relay for the Games as well. Isn't it the responsibility of the relevant authorities and the subject minister to prevent such issues from taking place? Minister of Sports, President's Council Faisal Mustafa, shouldn't you be held accountable for this?
Welcome back to the news. Loan schemes with high interest rates are being granted to the general public, and it continues to be unregulated.
An 11-year-old child has been assaulted by a woman in the Kuduthane area in Jaffna because the parents had delayed the interest payment for 400,000 as a loan. The child who was injured had been admitted to the Point Pedro Hospital. The loan had been obtained in the year 2015 from a person named by M. Rajana Devi, and the parents have paid an interest of 320,000 rupees to her already. This incident was reported when the woman arrived to obtain the rest of the money. Police had arrested the suspect.
Within this ambience of an ever-increasing debt level, there is growing concern that non-collateralized loans to those at the bottom of the debt pyramid has reached unsustainable levels. Loans made, including for consumption purposes, especially in the rural areas, can attract extortionate rates of interest that at times reach the 60% per annum mark. By contrast, loans granted by licensed commercial banks rarely exceed 25%.
People are insisting to get a loan through a government servant. A girl I know borrowed money and gave it to somebody else. The payment is not settled, so this girl has to pay from her own salary. If you cannot pay, what else can you do other than to commit suicide? A family in Calcutta who had a coconut business sold their vehicle and their house to settle off a loan. Their house was big and the land had coconut trees. They could have sold it at a better market rates, but ultimately they sold it for 1200,000. Even then, they couldn't settle debt and were evading the collectors. There are daily, monthly and weekly loans. Now they are in an open space with the kids and they are suffering without food. Now they are occupying someone else's land and they are starving. Someone has to stop this. Hereafter, lenders need not visit our village. We won't let them come. If they try to come, we will do something about it. He has taken a loan and gone abroad. Lenders are troubling me to pay back the loan. Now I have to go to the police again to sign. How can I pay? I'm in tears. With whatever money he sends, I have been settling debt without spending on food. But still they are nagging me. There is no food in the house and there are many difficulties. Since he has taken the loan and gone abroad, lenders are troubling me to settle the loan. Now I'm helpless and wondering what to do. I have hypertension and this situation is affecting my health.
Senior banker Rajendran Thiagaraja, who is also the president of the Chamber of Commerce, speaking exclusively on Newsline this morning, called for greater regulation and the need for responsible lending.
The Microfinance Act has now come into play, hopefully with the, it's still early days, but with the intent of netting those institutions which are in the space of microfinance, which are not formally covered by the central bank.
Amidst calls for greater regulations and for the regulated lending institutions to take a bigger share of the non-collateral based loans in rural areas, analysts pointed to the profits made by licensed commercial banks in the most recent accounting period.
In absolute terms, yes, profits have been good, but what I think the general public needs to be aware is that to generate this amount of profits, the humongous amount of assets these institutions have to create and generate. For example, today on average, the return on average assets in the industry is about 1.5%, which means assets, which is probably not comparable to any other industry, and that is something the public and anybody else should bear in mind when they pass.
Those who engage in granting loans at high interest rates are most of the time laundering black money to white. Why are there no steps being taken to regulate these loan schemes that create social and economic problems in the country? It is important to notice that there are other unimportant ad hoc decisions being implemented rather than solving the problems of the people. Why are these loan schemes being regulated by non-governmental organizations rather than it being subject to the direct supervision of the central bank? The people who burdened the country through the central bank bond scam are now burdening the people using these loan schemes with exorbitant interest rates. Is it fair to suppress and continue to burden the people using loan schemes with high interest rates? When these attempts proved futile, a draft to regulate news media was created with Ranga Kalansurya and a person representing an NGO. Now Ranga Kalansurya has stepped aside and is working with another NGO to control the media. While going after media institutions that continue to reveal corruption, they also protect people like Sandaruwan Senadira, who in return protects them. The actions of politicos who continue to protect those who do their bidding while targeting media institutions in the country that reveal corruption and misappropriation can be seen as a move to blindfold the general public. The Prime Minister of the country manages the economy and is responsible for it. The Minister of Finance as well as the Governor of the Central Bank cannot distance them from this responsibility as well. What should priority be given to? Should priority be given to solving problems that the general public face, or should attention be drawn to continue to suppress the media? If one cannot do the task of properly serving the people, what remains is for them to leave and vacate their positions. If this does not happen, it is certain that the general public will do what they did to the protesting railway trade unions.
Reports have emerged that 21 Sri Lankan migrant workers have died while working in Qatar during the past year.
Around 117,000 Sri Lankan migrant workers are currently employed in different jobs in Qatar. The Foreign Employment Bureau said that out of this number, 21 individuals had died during the past 12 months, with the remains of 19 being brought to the island. Officials further stated that remains of 2 individuals who had died recently are yet to be brought back to the country. The 2 are residents of Udipattua in Kandy and Galevela and were employed as drivers in the Middle Eastern state. While one individual died of heart disease, the other died after he fell from the 3rd floor of a building.
Sri Lanka's biggest one-day musical festival is to grace the country for the first time ever. Colombo Music Festival 2018 on August 18th will be an extraordinary night of unique entertainment with its Caribbean night theme. Several international stars performing at the concert arrived in the country today. Kino, the lead singer of the famous American reggae band Big Mountain, arrived in the country early this morning. He will be performing alongside his band on the day of the concert. English reggae vocalist Maxi Priest also arrived in the country today. He was one of the first international artists to have a success in this genre of reggae fusion. Famous international artist Diana King also arrived in the country today to perform at the Colombo Music Festival 2018. We are now joined by Aparna Fernando for the weather forecast.
Very good evening to all of viewers. You're joining me, Aparna Fernando, on Weather First. Let's take a look at the weather forecast for upcoming days. Winds are originating from the southwest part, hence the wind speed can increase in the coastal areas, especially in western and southeast sea areas. And also gusty winds can be expected across the country, especially in north, north central, northwestern, western and eastern provinces. Showers can be expected in Jaffna, Kandy, Galle tomorrow and day after tomorrow. On 19th, there can be a rise in the rainfall. Therefore, heavy showers can be expected in most of the places in the country except in Batiklu. Even on 20th, heavy showers can be expected in central and Sabaragamu provinces, and also especially heavy showers can be expected in Ratnapura, Kandy and Batiklu. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for Colombo.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola De Zoiza. Take care and good night.